we are. We are live on all seven Reddit show. Like so that means that I can also go ahead and share. So I'm going to do a screen share. One, share. I've got Photoshop in. Here's how you move your hand to pick up your nose or whatever it is I'm using. Just go ahead and stop that. I will send that.
my favorite aspect of the community is the community. I feel like one of CFMS's key strengths is that sense of community that's been cultivated over these years. The people have changed, through the years. I've been here 15 years. The director of education has changed twice. I feel like, the faces are different, but community is still open and caring and welcoming and encouraging and supportive. That's always been there. That hasn't faltered because our director of education changed. It's just something. It's like the spirit of CFMS. Open and caring and welcoming.
I think it's really important to foster community amongst the staff, because having a workplace community that is healthy and sustaining for our staff means that they can community amongst the staff come to their work with joy and a sense of support and collaboration that then really is reflected in the work that they do with the children.
The school, this community has been such a big part of my life that it feels like a second home.
Reflected in the work that they do with the children.
The school, this community has been such a big part of my life that it feels like a second home.
Reflected in the work that they do with the children.
The school, this community has been such a big part of my life that it feels like a second home.
Reflected in the work that they do with the children.
The school, this
Check, check, check.
community has been such a big part of my life that it feels like a second home. The school,
Check, check, check. Oh, so it is working.
such a big part of my life.
Check, check, check. Oh, so it is working. Check, check, check. Oh, so it is working. Check, check, check. Oh, so it is working.
Hey, everybody, how's it going? Well, hey, that was a wonderful segment, wasn't it? All right, let's get back to the show.
Christian Family Montessori is nestled in the Petworth neighborhood of Washington, D.C., located at St. Paul's Rock Creek Episcopal Parish, surrounded by the beautiful grounds of historic Rock Creek Cemetery. CFMS started from very humble roots. Christian Family Montessori is
The first
nestled in the
discussion we
Petworth
had was how
neighborhood
are
of
we going
Washington,
to teach
D.C.,
our kids to live?
located at St. Paul's
So
We were
Rock
part of a
Creek
Christian
Episcopal
community,
Parish,
Christian family community,
surrounded by the beautiful
that
grounds
had
of historic
20 or
Rock Creek
so.
Cemetery.
and
started
they were
very
all just
humble.
getting to that age of we need a preschool. What do we want in a preschool? Some of us knew enough about Montessori to say we wanted Montessori. Since we're part of a Christian community, we were looking for Christian. That had, since our means were limited, we were looking for affordable.
They were all just getting to that age of we
Those
need a
three
preschool.
things that
What do we want?
became
Some
kind
of
of a
us
vision
knew
of
enough
We
the
couldn't find a place. We
Montessori
thought
to
we'd
say
be
we
able
wanted
to, but we
Montessori.
couldn't. So,
Since we're
on
part of a Christian
early
community, we were
October,
looking
by
for
early
Christian.
October, we
That
decided
had,
we could
since our
do it
means were
here
limited, we were looking for affordable.
and do that until we
They
could
were all
find a
just getting
place.
to that age of
That's
those three
basically
things
how
that
it happened.
became. We're sitting in the living room right now, that where we started the
Yeah,
school.
right here, right where the computer was, where the cubbies. No, the cubbies were.
They were out on the porch.
outside.
Everything was on the porch. They could.
Do that until we could find a place.
Christian Family Montessori School.
We're sitting in
It's
the
a
living room
community
right now
that
where we started.
Right
is
here, right where the
focused
computer was,
on the
where
three
cubbies
elements
were.
of our name.
They were
It's a
out on the
school
porch.
community that is
Everything was
very
on the
much
porch.
familial. It is
Christian Family Montessori School.
We're sitting in
it's
the
strong and
community
vibrant,
right now.
small community
Right here, right where.
Focused
that has
on
chosen
the three
to
elements of our name.
to nurture our
School
children
community
in a
that
very
is
specific
much
way.
familial.
It is at its foundation
It's strong and vibrant,
small,
community
infused with
that has
the catechesis of the Good
chosen
Shepherd,
to
the
nurture
good
our
news
children
of
in a
God's
very
love for
specific
all
way.
people.
It
And
is at its
It is
foundation,
a Montessori school
strong and
that
small
is
community
infused with
that has
the catechesis of the Good
chosen
Shepherd, the
nurture
good
our
news
children
of
in a
God's
very
love for
specific
all
way.
people.
It
And
is at its
it is
foundation,
a Montessori school
strong and
that
small
is
community
infused with
that has
the catechesis of the Good
chosen
Shepherd, the good news of God's love for all people. And it is a Montessori school that is infused with the catechesis of the Good Shepherd, the good news of God's love for all people. And it is a Montessori school that is infused with the catechesis, the good news of God's love for all people. And it is a Montessori school.
You can do is simply go up into File and then go to Settings. And then in Settings, go to Audio. And under Devices here, go ahead and disable all of the devices and see if that stops the echo from happening. If you're still having an echo after that, see if that is simply go ahead and disable File. And then in Settings, go to Audio. Settings is simply go up into File and then go to Settings. And then in Settings, go to Audio. Do is simply go up into File and then go to Settings. And then in Settings, go to Audio. And under Devices here, go ahead and disable all of the devices and see if that stops the echo from happening. If you're still having an echo after that, see if that is simply go ahead and disable File. And then in Settings, go to Audio. Is simply go up into File and then go to Settings. And then in Settings, go to Audio. Do is simply go up into File and then go to Settings. And then in Settings, go to Audio. And under Devices here, go ahead and disable all of the devices and see if that stops the echo from happening. If you're still having an echo after that, see if that is simply go ahead and disable File. And then in Settings, go to Audio. Is simply go up into File and then go to Settings. And then in settings, go to audio. What you can do is simply go up into file and then go to settings. And then in settings, go to audio. And under devices here, go ahead and disable all of the devices and see if that stops the echo from happening. If you're still having an echo after that, see if that is simply go ahead and disable file. And then in settings, go to audio. Is simply go up into file and then go to settings. And then in settings, go to audio. Is simply go up and go to settings. And then in settings, audio. And under devices here,
Hey, everybody, I'm going to start talking. I'm just wondering if my voice repeats when I talk into my microphone.
All right. As promised, I wanted to troubleshoot the top 5 issues that you guys have been having connecting OBS and Zoom. Trust me, we do read the comments and we want you guys to be successful. So let's get started after this. Together. Well, an audio loop is generally the result of audio coming in one source and going back out to the other. So, for example, the audio coming from your microphone, if you're sending that to Zoom as your microphone, that's fine. But if you're also bringing it back in through
Rock Creek Episcopal Parish, surrounded by the beautiful grounds of historic Rock Creek Cemetery. CFMS started from very humble roots.
The first discussion we had was how are we going to teach our kids religion? So
We were part of a Christian community, Christian family community that had 20 or so. And they were all just getting to that age of we need a preschool. What do we want in a preschool? Some of us knew enough about Montessori to say we wanted Montessori. Since we were part of a Christian community, we were looking for Christian. Since our means were limited, we were looking for affordable. So those three things that became kind of the vision of the school.
we couldn't find a place. We thought we'd be able to, but we couldn't. So yeah, by early October, we decided we could do it here and do that until we did find a place. That's basically how it happened.
We're sitting in the living room right now, where we started the school.
Yeah, right here, right where the computer was, where the cubby. No, the cubbies were outside.
They were out on the porch. Everything was on the porch that could be.
Christian Family Montessori School. It's a community that is focused on the three elements of our name. It's a school community that is very much familial. It is a strong and vibrant small community that has chosen to nurture our children in a very specific way. It is at its foundation infused with the catechesis of the Good Shepherd, the good news of God's love for all people. And it is a Montessori school that is incredibly dedicated to the pedagogy and the belief that we are called to follow the child, that the child is our hope for the future, and that we can support their optimal development through the Montessori method.
Marie Montessori was an Italian physician and educator, best known for the teaching method that bears her name.
My idol.
She was a social activist, which I think a lot of people don't realize, and a huge champion for women and children's rights.
She looked at teaching and children through a scientific lens, which hadn't been done before her time.
But Montessori recognized where they were at certain points, and through trial and error and through really scientific observation, figured out what would work best for which kids at which ages.
That method of observation and really taking in what she was seeing and paring down to just the essential things that children needed to grow and learn.
I had seen what she talked about in her writings, that there's this drive for independence that a young child has, and this desire to fully participate in daily life.
You know, people always ask if you could meet somebody from the past, she would be on my list.
What is the Montessori method?
Children are intuitive learners. They want to absorb everything around them, and it just it happens naturally with 3 to 6 year olds, and 6 to 12 year olds sort of explode into this wanting to understand the entire world. And so it's not something that you really have to coerce them into. It's sort of just finding ways for them to dive into that exploration and to have the tools to do it by themselves.
I think of Montessori being, wanting to help a child explore the world and learn more about it through their interests, and helping them to be independent.
The respect for the child, following the child and their development, meaning every specific child, right? We're not lumping the children into a group of 30 whatever students in one space who all have to be doing the same thing at the same time on the same day. That's adult directed. So it's about us observing the children and seeing what they need in that particular moment. And that means that if you have 30 children, all 30 may need something different on that single day. And while for many people that seems impossible, it's actually so much easier than trying to keep everybody in the same place. But not only that, all of those children get to be their own beautiful, unique selves, right? They don't have to hide who they are in order to conform to a group. We expect them all to show who they really are, and we support that. And I think that's a very beautiful thing.
In 2 words, it's controlled freedom.
The teachers that I know, and personally, I mean, I think we feel like we're being our true selves when we're doing it, and we're watching the children just enjoy it so much.
Next, we explore the inherent connection between Montessori and the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd.
So the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd grew out of Montessori pedagogy.
When we return to CFMS Behind the Montessori.
All right, that was a wonderful segment of the show. Excellent, excellent. We have up next, we are in the all-day primary classroom, and we are going to be auctioning off this wonderful da-da-da-da. It's fantastic. But first off, I have a very special guest. You never know who you're going to run into at CFMS. And then I'm walking the halls, right? I'm getting ready for this auction. And who do I run into but the Pink Tower? Oh my goodness, look at the Pink Tower, everybody. Round of applause for oh my goodness, the Pink Tower. Look at you. Look at you, Pink Tower. You look so fantastic. Pink Tower, what happened to your arm? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Miss Una sees me. Una, I see you. You see me.
Our daughter, our oldest daughter, was already in a Montessori preschool, public preschool at Burroughs Montessori in Washington. And her teacher was Bootsy Jones, and Bootsy Jones had heard that we were looking for Christian something, you know, and she came out to me one day and she said, if you're going to do religion in a Montessori setting, do this. And she handed me a flyer and it was an overview of the program or the work of Sophia Cavalletti that wasn't even named yet. She had been doing it since 1953. This was 1981. And she called it the experiment all that time. Because that's how careful she was in developing it. And finally, a bishop in Mexico who had heard about the work said, you really can't sell this as the experiment. You have to give it a name. And so it was named the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd after I was first introduced to it.
The Catechesis of the Good Shepherd grew out of Montessori pedagogy. And it was based on some of Montessori's early writings about the spiritual potential of the child.
And one of the things that Dr. Montessori believed was that children are exceptionally spiritual. So this is one way that we support that by having Catechesis of the Good Shepherd and all of the beautiful work that gets done in the atrium.
Maria Montessori, when she was developing her original materials, did develop some materials that we are now considered catechesis materials. So the altar, the liturgical colors.
And so there was a woman named Sophia Cavalletti, who was a Hebrew scholar, Dr. Sophia Cavalletti, and one of Montessori's trainees, Jana Gobi, who started working together to think about how to allow children space to really explore their relationship with God.
Together, the Montessorian and kind of the, so to speak, religious expert developed Montessori materials for the spiritual life of a child.
They used the same tools that Montessori used, so observation. They would create materials because they knew from Montessori's work that children needed to use their hands. And then they would put it in front of children and see how they responded. If it came off the shelf again, they knew it was serving a need. But if the children didn't go back to it, it told them something about whether that was really kind of developmentally where the child was. They started to realize what profound insight children have that they offer back to us through the catechesis. So they really started to write down observations and use those as tools to kind of perfect those materials even more to really serve the child's spirituality.
In the parable of the Good Shepherd, the message is that you are loved unconditionally and everyone is loved. There's no person is left out, and there's no reason that I will stop loving you.
What is the work of a shepherd? It's to take care of sheep. And so we have the sheepfold where the sheep are safe, the grass that the Good Shepherd invites the sheep to follow him to eat. And then we read, we wonder, who could the Good Shepherd be? Who might the sheep be? And reading the scripture itself. So the Good Shepherd calls the sheep by name and leads them out. And they listen to his voice. Being invited into relationship with the Good Shepherd through the materials.
I would explain it as a way of spiritual formation. It's not so much religious education like what people are used to in sort of a Catholic school setting or something like that. It's more about guiding the child to find their own true connection.
If we're talking relationship, that's not something that somebody can create for someone else. If you're going to grow into a relationship, that has to start with you. And so the materials give that concrete start and place for reflection. But then it's the work of each of us to grow in relationship well, either with other people or in this case with the Good Shepherd.
It's more about them discovering what they believe and having the freedom to follow that wherever it takes them.
With the younger children, the things they were most attracted to were the stories that were about feeling connected, about joy and awe. And really, when you look at them collectively, they're the essentials of the Christian faith. It's kind of, which is why it works for so many diverse, we're a pretty diverse community religiously too. So
I love that one of our school founders, Catherine Maresca, talks about it as providing children with a language. It's almost like giving a child a second language, right? Or a third language. And we know that, why Christianity, she says, because it's one path, one language to connect the child with their spiritual selves and with God.
Next, we look at what makes CFMS such a special place.
Community is central to everything we do.
Sort of the backbone of the school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we return to CFMS, Behind the Montessori.
Hey, I'm back, everybody. Hey, laughing, joking. Oh, we're going to auction off this item now. Look at this item. This is a great item. Look at this boxer dog we're going to auction off. Huh? What do you say? How much for this guy? We're going to get on your phones, get on your tablets, download Greater Giving, punch in the code. Let's do this.
There is research that I read about that time that said, regardless of what kind of educational program you have your children in, children do better if their parents are involved in the school. And, the kids can see them in the halls or know that they
Never anything had to be fixed or cleaned or anything. Once we were in another, the St. James building, there's a lot of hours that were given to that.
We passed the hat to
it was
make the budget.
whatever money we had. None of us were wealthy, so.
And our budget really forced us, so all the administrative work of the school, all the work with the Maryland Department of Education, all the cleaning, all the making of shelves, all that was co-op work.
Well, the community's main contribution was probably praying, constantly. Miracle a day.
But school, just by being in there and seeing everything, and building community among the parents, because they often work together on various projects. So all those things kind of work together financially, as well as, for the spirit of the school. Sort of the backbone of the school.
The community is central to everything we do, from the parent co-op to the way that we create classroom culture and community, to the values that we share with our children. They're all centered around that concept of community.
CFMS is a community where you can be who you are. and where everybody wants you to be who you are. Oh, I might get a teary.
They really care about everyone in the community, from the children, the staff, to the parents. And that's important, and I love that about the community.
Folks are attracted to CFMS for a variety of reasons, but I think that it's the strength of the community that ends up sustaining them and keeping them here for all of the years that it takes to move through the phases of childhood.
My favorite aspect of the community is the community. I feel like one of CFMS's key strengths is that sense of community that's been cultivated over these years. The people have changed, through the years. I've been here 15 years. The director of education has changed twice. The faces are different, but the community is still open and caring and welcoming and encouraging and supportive. That's always been there. That hasn't faltered because our director of education changed. It's just something, it's like the spirit of CFMS.
I think it's really important to foster community amongst the staff, because having a workplace community that is healthy and sustaining for our staff means that they can come to their work with joy and a sense of support and collaboration that then really is reflected in the work that they do with the children.
The school, this community has been such a big part of my life that it feels like a second home.
I really love the community at CFMS. It feels like home. Let's say it like that. It really feels like home. It's home away from home.
It's that family. It feels like a family. It's an external family that you can always call and say, hey, can you do me a favor? And they're more than willing to do it.
To the character of the school, we make do. We make do with what we have. Inclination is to really look at what's already there and how can we use that, and not, oh, where's the shiny brand new pink tower. I'm going to use the pink tower I've been using. Maybe it's a little smooth around the edges from all the touching, but it's a perfectly good pink tower, and it's serving the purpose that it's meant to serve. And I think that has shown up in the history of CFMS, that, we're going to work with what we have. We have this one primary classroom, and that's what we're going to focus on. And then responding to the needs of the community and the parents being involved in sort of guiding the development of the school. I think parental involvement has been really key to the historical development of CFMS.
Once your family is a part of the CFMS community, it's that sense of community, of cooperation, of collaboration, of partnership with the school that really sustains families and makes them want to stay at CFMS.
It grows. You might have that as part of yourself already, to be open and encouraging and supportive and welcoming. But then you join this community where it's like central to how we function. And it just grows it inside of you. And I think it just makes the entire experience really unique. I've never been part of a school where I felt so close to the people that my child, you know, the parents of my child's friends, or the parents of the children that I work with. It's really the CFMS community is the strength of CFMS.
Among everybody at CFMS. And you can see this in the teachers, for example, who always are concerned about the individual child, not just whether this kid is comporting themselves properly in the classroom or keeping up with the work. But how is that child's soul doing in the classroom? And trying every day, sometimes effortlessly, sometimes with a little intention, to allow that child to feel comfortable and to know that they are accepted and that they, in and of themselves, have incredible value to everybody else in the classroom, to the community, and that everybody else does too. And the parents are the same, in my experience. This is our last year at CFMS. And it's hard to think about.
As the world faces a global pandemic of pedagogy,
Then suddenly I'm not the director of education anymore. I'm the director of technical support and Zoom.
a catechesis,
Oh, okay. This is what we're doing.
and a community
What are we gonna do?
are all challenged when we return to CFMS Behind the Montessori.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Everyone having a good time though. Wow. Pulling at the heartstrings. Savon, gets me going. Anyways, everyone get your tissues, then grab your phone and plug into Greater Giving because we've got another auction coming up. This is the item we're going to auction off. Isn't it beautiful? It's pretty fantastic, don't you think? All right. All right. Now back to the show.
My initial reaction was that we will take this one day at a time, and that we were likely to be closed for a number of weeks until things got sorted out and we had a better sense of what this coronavirus thing was all about.
Baseball closes down, and I thought, okay, we've got 2 weeks. Let's kind of think of this as a break. There's no way we could possibly do this any other way, and we'll be back in school.
it was so abrupt for us because of St. Paul's decision to close before we were sort of ready to close. So that was really challenging, just to sort of be like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing.
So my initial reaction was, I remember reading the email and thinking it was temporary. I remember an email saying that they were trying to work out a solution so that they could keep the school open.
An almost desperate optimism that this was not going to last very long, that this was a really bad version of a spring break.
The Montessori method is one that's very hands-on, right? So the transition to the virtual realm, I think, seemed like a high bar for us as, technological Luddites.
Maybe a weekend, I started to think maybe it's going to be a month. We need to start figuring something out. So let's explore what the possibilities are. Then suddenly I'm not the director of education anymore. I'm the director of technical support and Zoom. And
how do I do Montessori? How are we going to do it? First of all, I didn't know about Zoom. Zoom has become a big part of my life now, as it has with everyone.
That there was Zoom, and at that point it was Google Classroom and Calendly to set up meetings, and that I should, that we were going to have virtual prayer service that Friday. And I didn't know how to work any of the technology. And I've never helped children lead a virtual prayer service before.
My first response was just really a high level of concern for the children that I work with, losing that sense of normalcy that they have with their daily routine and coming to school and all of these materials that are made for them and speak to them. And really, I was very concerned for the parents too, because as a parent myself, I know how challenging it is to both be a parent and take care of your child and then teach your child, because that was the role that the parents were put into.
A nightly, you can ask my husband. It was just like this daily and nightly, like, but what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to be able to have meetings and still, have their kids be around, and how can I help support them through this?
A lot to take on, and there's a reason we send our kids to school.
Luckily, my job allowed us to work remotely. But it was a disaster. I mean, it was so bad at one meeting. I was like, I just need Jamie to stay in her room, and I don't care if it's the iPad. I just need to get through this meeting so that I have a job at the end of this pandemic.
Sometimes I was in the middle of a lesson with a child and she would come in and want to be there too. That's the worst, when you're trying to do this and it's a conversation that it really can't be interrupted and you're trying to push her out the door. Yeah, it was challenging.
I'm doing a meeting right now. Okay. No, that's okay.
Our staff had within them this sort of the power of creativity and flexibility that was needed, plus a sense of real support from our parent community, and the need to stay connected was really motivating for us.
Also, having the benefit of having a 4-year-old at home was kind of a good thing, to be able to see kind of how he was processing all of it, and then thinking about my own students, that okay, then that's kind of what they're going through. How can I, connect it all and make it useful for you all at home.
Hard things happen at CFMS, and I'm sort of searching for how can I help? What's my role in all of this? What do I have to offer to this situation? The catechesis is where I look, And since the Good Shepherd is central to the catechesis, I tend to start there. So when this all happened, and it was the time of year where I would generally present Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And that was one of the first things that came to my mind. And so I remember crafting an email to send to the parents to sort of say, yes, this is terrifying and just really difficult to fathom that what we're going through, but you're not alone.
At the same time, we are a community that is accustomed to thinking creatively, to observing needs and responding to them, to meeting the needs of children that are in all different places, wherever they come to us.
CFMS gets creative.
But this past summer was like no other.
The reopening plans were all-consuming most of the summer.
When we return to CFMS Behind the Montessori.
Oh wow. I can't wait to see the conclusion to this thing. This is a nail biter. I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't. I don't. But we've got this item to auction off. It is this fantastic item from the primary class, the traditional primary class. We're here in Miss Lindy's class right now, and this is the item. Isn't it beautiful? All right, let's get a full 360 of what this thing looks like. Come on, cameraman. Let's do that up. Isn't that beautiful? We're going low. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So we're going to flip it over to the auction. Get on there. Greater Giving. Get the app. Start bidding. I want to see a bidding war like last year's bidding war. My wife's kind of busy this year, Paul, so you're on your own. But who's going to challenge Paul this year? Huh? All right. Good to go.
But this past summer was like no other, because we were reinventing the way that we would operate in the fall, and really had a clear vision that we wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to be in person, to establish relationship, to allow students to get their hands on materials while the pandemic was at more of a lull, anticipating that there would be a surge in the winter.
The reopening plans were all-consuming most of the summer. When most parents find out how much work went into it, they will be floored, because a number of people, Keeley foremost among them, they worked a double full-time also.
Really proud that we were able to pull together from within our parent community a whole group of experts to make a very strong, well-informed, scientifically based mitigation plan that would allow us to be together safely, and that would meet or exceed all of the recommendations that were out there. And it was a really big accomplishment for us as a community to be able to have those first 10 weeks of school in person.
We really started the year with a fairly solid plan for hybrid, virtual, in person. So we really knew what each of those were going to look like. We needed to tweak it a little bit, but going in with a plan, so much easier. we were able to implement it pretty quickly.
The style of the decision that was made, the having the 4 days in a row made a massive difference in what the children were able to do and how they were able to feel in terms of being able to be in a place.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit nervous to be back in the classroom, but also confused at myself. Like, why would you feel nervous about something you've been doing forever? You know, a big part of it is all the protocols we have to follow, and sort of keeping that in the forefront of your mind is really challenging, because the way I interact with the children is so comfortable, and I get so used to that oh, you have to wash your hands doesn't occur to me sometimes, you know, because I just read The Good Shepherd and I'm enjoying how that child responded to it.
How do we keep young children away from each other when all of the time we're always so close together? And how do we not sing? How do we, you know, make sure they're all keeping masks on and washing hands and all of these things? It was pretty overwhelming and kind of scary.
Being cohorted and at school and masks and distancing. I mean, it's a situation that we have to deal with right now, but you can still help the children and help them fulfill the needs that they have to the best of your ability, right? So we've just spent the whole year trying to do that as best we can, because it's really hard for the children not to be together. So any way that we were able to support them and the families, that's all that we were aiming for, which is not that easy to do during a pandemic, but I think everybody's really risen to the occasion and the needs of what's been going on.
Having students with us in person, having them back in their school environment where they really feel a sense of ownership and belonging was a real joy and a victory of sorts for this fall.
It's sort of been this roller coaster of emotions all year, but I think the thing that's been most amazing is how well the children have done.
I have felt completely comfortable. I never would have imagined that. But because of our experience in the fall, everybody in the entire community, but especially the staff and the students, proved that they could do this safely. The kids can attend school in person safely. And the parents did too, because we all had to prioritize keeping our community safe, not just ourselves.
The thing that really makes things feel right, you know, that things are right with the world, is the sort of buzz of energy that is back in the classrooms, of children engaging in work, of having the opportunity to repeat and practice lessons that they've had. Just the rhythm is back, right?
I've enjoyed some of the really meaningful conversations I've had with parents via Zoom.
I hope that online staff meetings continue, because I do like that meetings have been a little bit different this year. I think is more suitable for
hopefully staff.
people.
You know, we've done virtual staff meetings, and I don't, you know, that hopefully that will enable us to see each other more, because when, like, during a normal year, it's very few times of the year when we're all together. So that's been a real luxury to be able to have staff meetings.
I would love the talent show to continue. It felt like a lot of children that weren't necessarily that excited about, sorry, our neighbors, that excited about, singing at the Spring Sing on a stage and all of that. Just kind of came out of their shells on little videos to share with everyone.
I like virtual parent-teacher conferences. I love that.
Hoping that the sort of, not only the collaboration that I've seen this year with staff, but collaboration between families and children and staff and everyone who works together to make the school run. I really hope that that's something that continues moving forward, that feeling of, tell me what you need and how can I help you.
I think we've learned that we can pivot in sort of extreme ways when necessary. And we have a really, this was really clear before, but we have a really dedicated staff who worked really hard to make this work and to support the children and to support each other. Yeah, and I think that it was really powerful to see how much time and effort and just their full hearts people were putting into the transition.
I think that the pandemic has reinforced that sort of Montessori concept that we can do hard things. I think that it's encouraged us as a community to respond to challenge with flexibility and creativity in new ways. In terms of really specific elements that we'll be able to maintain, I really hope that we won't maintain Zoom classrooms for that much longer, and that we'll continue to be able to increase the amount of community time and togetherness that we've so missed in our lives throughout the course of this pandemic.
This has been CFMS Behind the Montessori. Wow, that was wonderful. What a wonderful, wonderful documentary. I think the voiceover work in that was spectacular. Most amazing voiceover work. That guy should sell cars. That was amazing. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Thank you, everybody, for another wonderful spring event. Thank you. Another great silent auction. Thank you, thank you, thank you. First off, I have my own personal thank yous I'd like to get out. I'd like to thank my beautiful wife and Maria Thresup and Matt Fowler for coming in and helping out with this thing. This has been really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would just like to say thank you to the staff. And thank you to Keely for your leadership for the past year. I gotta get through that.
First and foremost, thank you, Keely. Now, everyone, hang on. We're not done. There's some other people that want to say something. Good night, everybody.